Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat quietly and thought about your life, not in terms of what's missing, but what's finally possible? If you're in your 60s or beyond and living on your own, you might hear a lot of people saying things like, "Aren't you lonely?" or "Don't you want someone to grow old with?" But here's what they don't always understand. Sometimes, the most powerful stage of life begins not when you're surrounded by others, but when you're standing strong on your own. In this video, I want to show you why being single after 60 isn't a problem to fix, it's a freedom to embrace. And if you're feeling uncertain, or maybe just quietly wondering if you're the only one who feels this way, I promise you're not alone. In fact, what you're experiencing is part of something much bigger. I'll walk you through some real-life truths, backed by medical insight and examples from women just like you. We'll talk about what it really means to live well on your own and how to protect not just your happiness, but your health, your energy, and your peace of mind. Let's start by naming what's happening. More and more older adults are choosing or finding themselves in solo living situations. Whether it's through divorce, widowhood, or simply never marrying at all, living alone is no longer the exception. It's becoming the new normal. And you know what? That shift matters. Because it means this isn't just your private journey, it's part of a generational awakening. Now let's break it down into some powerful truths that can help you not just accept, but celebrate your life right now. The first truth is this: living alone is not the same as being lonely. That's something people often confuse. Loneliness is a feeling of disconnection, of being emotionally unseen. But being alone, that's a situation. And it can be full of peace, freedom, and self-expression. The risk, of course, is when being alone stretches into isolation. And that's where the health dangers start. Research from institutions like the National Institute on Aging shows that chronic loneliness in older adults can raise your risk of dementia by up to 40%. It affects blood pressure, immune function, even your sleep. But here's the key: loneliness isn't always about the number of people around you. It's about the quality of your connections. Let me tell you about Carol. She's 68, lives in a small home outside of Santa Fe, and has been widowed for 5 years. After her husband passed, people flooded in with support. But 6 months later, it got quiet. That silence felt heavy. Until one day, Carol joined a local community garden just on a whim. There, she met a woman who had also lost her partner. They started sharing stories, seeds, and eventually, Saturday morning coffee. Carol now says, "It's not that I needed someone to fix the loneliness. I just needed to feel part of something again." So, what's the solution? Start small. Join a local class. Call a neighbor for tea. Sign up for a walking group. Even virtual communities like support circles or book clubs can help. The goal isn't quantity, it's emotional nourishment. Here's the second truth: being single after 60 doesn't mean something went wrong. It might actually mean something went right. Think about it. After decades of caregiving, child raising, compromising, or simply navigating other people's needs, many older women are finally saying, "This is my time." And not just emotionally. Financially too. Studies have shown that older women who stay single are often more protective of their savings and more likely to make choices that support long-term stability. Let me introduce you to Martha. She's 73, divorced at 60, and says the turning point for her wasn't the divorce, it was realizing that she didn't need to feel guilty for enjoying life alone. She took a solo trip to Portugal, then one to Arizona. She volunteers at an animal rescue center. Her kids used to worry she'd be lonely. Now they call her for advice on how to live with more joy. If you're someone who left a marriage or never got married in the first place, it doesn't mean you missed something. It might mean you dodged something. Or simply chose differently. The solution here is to rewrite your inner story. Start talking to yourself like you matter. Because you do. You're not living anyone else's version of what aging should look like. You're writing your own. Now the third truth: health is your power, and solo living requires a health-first mindset. When you live alone, especially in your 60s and beyond, you can't afford to wait until something goes wrong to take care of yourself. You are your own first responder. That doesn't mean living in fear, it means living with awareness. Falls, for example, are one of the most common health risks for seniors who live alone. According to the CDC, over 36 million falls are reported among older adults each year in the US, leading to more than 32,000 deaths. Many of these happen in the home, slipping in the bathroom, tripping over rugs, or reaching for things too high. So what can you do? Well, start by making your space safer. Install grab bars in the bathroom. Get rid of throw rugs that slide. Put frequently used items within easy reach. And build check-in routines. Whether it's a neighbor, a family member, or a daily call with a friend, create a pattern where someone knows you're okay. There are even medical alert systems with fall detection now that can alert help even if you can't reach the phone. I once met a retired nurse named Janet. She lives alone in her farmhouse in Vermont. At 72, she's sharp, active, and stubbornly independent. But after a scary moment last winter when she slipped on ice outside her porch, she realized independence doesn't mean going it completely alone. It means putting smart systems in place so you can thrive. And Janet? She now wears a fall detection bracelet and says it gives her freedom, not fear. That brings us to something a little deeper. Emotional self-trust. Because the truth is, being single later in life requires a kind of quiet bravery. There's no applause for it. No headlines. But it matters. When you're alone, you become the person you count on. That means tuning in to your own rhythms. Learning how to soothe your own stress. Making choices from your values, not someone else's needs. But it's also about joy. You can light a candle at dinner, even if it's just you. You can sleep in the middle of the bed. You can make travel plans without asking permission. And yes, there might be moments of sadness. That's okay. What matters is knowing you can sit with it and still choose life. Let's pause here. We've talked about some deep truths already. That living alone doesn't mean being lonely. That your story isn't broken. That health is power, and your routines protect you. That choosing joy, even quietly, is a form of strength. But there's more. Because being solo in your 60s and beyond also opens up something most people overlook. The chance to become your truest self without apology. And in the next part, I'll show you how. I'll share stories of late-blooming creativity, rediscovered passions, and how one woman built an entire second life, from scratch, at 65. We'll also get into dating, friendship, and how to build a meaningful support system without giving up your independence. So stay with me. We're just getting started. But before we move on, if anything in this first part spoke to you, even a little, I'd love for you to share it in the comments. Maybe you've gone through a major change recently. Maybe you're still figuring it all out. Whatever it is, you're not the only one. And if you think someone else needs to hear this, send it to them. These conversations matter more than you know. Let's pick up right where we left off. We were talking about the quiet strength it takes to live alone after 60. About how health, connection, and self-trust become your greatest assets. And now, let's talk about something else that begins to bloom when the noise quiets down. Your real self. You see, for much of life, we're pulled in every direction: family, work, relationships. We adjust, we adapt, we give. But when the world stops pulling so hard, there's a moment, sometimes scary, sometimes beautiful, when you get to ask, what do I really want now? For some people, it's creativity. For others, it's travel. For many, it's peace and routine. But whatever it is, this is the time to stop apologizing for it. Let me tell you about Rose. She's 67 and used to work in finance. Never married, no kids. When she retired, she said she felt a strange mix of relief and panic. No meetings, no schedule, no obligations. But also, no excuses left to delay the things she secretly dreamed of doing. She signed up for a watercolor class at her local library. Just to try. 2 years later, her art was hanging in a community show. But it wasn't about being good. It was about being alive. She told me, for the first time in decades, I felt like I was living from the inside out, not the other way around. That's the gift solitude can give you. The space to create, to listen, to be. Not for anyone else's approval. Just because you can. And maybe that means going back to school. Or joining a walking group. Or pulling out the old guitar that's been sitting in your closet since 1985. Whatever sparks that little flicker of joy, follow it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sure, that sounds nice, but what about companionship? What about love? Does choosing to live solo mean you've closed the door on that? Not at all. But here's the key, it means you get to be intentional. You're no longer looking for someone to fill a gap or fix a hole. You're looking for connection, not rescue. And yes, dating after 60 is very different than it was in your 20s. There might be technology involved. There might be baggage. There will absolutely be laughter and probably some eye-roll moments too. But there's also maturity. You know who you are now. You've earned that clarity. If love finds you, let it be a bonus, not a mission. If friendship deepens, let it be mutual. And if you choose to remain happily solo, that's just as valid, just as complete. Like Dorothy, a 70-year-old retired teacher I met last year. She told me she went on a few dates through an online platform. Nothing serious came of it, but she didn't regret it for a second. It reminded her she's still alive, still curious, still open. But when asked if she'd ever want to marry again, she laughed and said, "I already have everything I want, and I don't have to share the remote." It was funny, but it was also profound. Because underneath that smile was a woman who had built a life that fit her, like a favorite sweater. That's the real success story. Not whether you're partnered or not, but whether your life feels honest, peaceful, purposeful. And that brings us to one of the most powerful tools for anyone living alone after 60, your circle. Not necessarily big, not necessarily busy, but steady. You don't need dozens of people. You need a few you can count on. Maybe it's a neighbor who waves from across the yard, a niece who checks in once a week, a friend you've known since childhood, even if you only talk once a month. The science is clear on this. Social support, however small, improves everything from immune response to brain function. It even lowers the risk of heart disease. If you don't feel like you have that right now, don't panic. You can build it. Slowly. Step by step. Start by showing up. A library event. A coffee meetup. A local class. Don't wait to feel perfectly confident. Just be curious. Show up again. And again. Eventually, someone else will notice. Someone else will be glad you're there. And that's how circles grow. And sometimes, that circle starts from within. That might sound strange, but think about it. How do you speak to yourself when you're alone? Are you kind? Are you patient? Do you notice your wins, even the tiny ones? Solo living gives you the chance to become your own companion first. And once you build that relationship, every other one, whether romantic, friendly, or family, starts to feel different. Healthier. More real. Now, I know this isn't always easy. There are tough days. Nights that feel a little too quiet. Times when memories flood in without warning. That's part of it. But so is waking up and realizing the day is entirely yours. So is making soup and dancing barefoot in the kitchen while it simmers. So is sitting with a book on a rainy afternoon with no one to rush you. So is breathing in your own space, at your own pace, on your own terms. You haven't lost something. You've found something. Even if it took years to arrive here, you're here now. And that matters. So here's what I hope you'll remember. You are not alone in living alone. Millions of older adults are rewriting what aging looks like. And you, yes, you are part of that story. You are not behind. You are not invisible. You are not less. You are becoming more of yourself, not less. And every step you take, every moment of care you give to your body, your mind, your heart, it all builds toward a life that feels truly yours. So go ahead. Buy yourself flowers. Book that solo trip. Try the painting class, the yoga session, the volunteer shift, the weird hobby you always wanted to try. You don't need anyone's permission. You've already earned it. And if you ever feel unsure, just know there's a whole world of us out here, walking this path with you. Quietly cheering. Gently reminding. This chapter of life. It's not the end. It's the becoming. Now if this video touched something in you, even just a little, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share a comment. Tell me about a moment when living alone surprised you, or comforted you, or maybe even made you laugh. And if you think someone else in your life needs to hear this, send it their way. Let's keep these conversations going. You never know whose life you might quietly brighten just by clicking share. And of course, if you'd like to see more videos like this, stories that speak gently but truthfully to what it means to grow older with strength, heart, and a little humor, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. This journey, you don't have to walk it alone. But even when you do, you're never really alone at all. I'll see you in the next one.